Season 4. Tom Newton's done it again. It's a 4-paper show today, and an exciting show because we've actually got the Financial Times in today's pile, which means some actual quality journalism will sneak its way into the show. Not much of it, but some. But don't worry, because elsewhere in the pile we've got our usual load of slurry from the Sun, the Times, and the Telegraph to pick through. I don't know why I have enforced on myself a two massive broadsheet day, because they're the worst to handle, but there we go. Right, I need to do the tweet. Always do the tweet. Always got to do the tweet. This is the rule. Right, here we go. Do quote tweet. The show is live. Tune in. www.twitch.tv. I mean, you know this. You're watching it either on... Well, you could be watching it on YouTube. If you're watching it on YouTube, watch other episodes. Like this. Like and share this video. If you're not, if you're just here live, that's good too. Right, show is live. Tune in. Boom. Okay. Let me bosh that into the old Discord. Bosh it into Discord. How old am I? Ancient being. Right. Boom. Discord. Stream happening. I mean, I could probably create a much better workflow for this, but will I? No. Hey, Slinkermeyer, how are you doing? Good to see you. You joined me today on an episode where we're actually going to look at a paper that's broadly involved in actually doing some journalism. So that's going to be interesting. Today's show, the FT, followed by, in a vast gear change, the Sun, followed by the Times. Followed by the Telegraph, finishing with the Times. No Daily Mail today because I just decided we've done the Daily Mail too many shows in a row. Hello Shankly07, good to see you. Thank you for being here. And hello to valued subscriber Bad Motivator. Right. Glasses on. I need to clean these. Fucking disgusting. Right. Yeah. So we're going to start with the Financial Times. Top of the shop in the Financial Times. Reading your mind, how accurate are AI facial tools that track emotions? There's an online version of that where it actually uses a webcam or the camera on your phone to sort of test various facial recognition things and teach you about that. Teach you about the weaknesses of facial recognition stuff. It's actually a really good bit of journalism. Haven't read the big read version of it in the paper here yet, because what I tend not to do is try to avoid cracking the papers till I talk to you, so you get my first and best analysis of them. Right, obviously they're talking about the situation in Israel and Gaza. More than 50 killed in Gaza and Israel. Fires raged yesterday both in Gaza Strip's Khan Yunis and at a refinery in the southern Israeli city of Ashkelon. Palestinian militants and Israel's military forces have exchanged a volley of deadly rockets for days, triggered after hundreds of Muslim protesters were injured last weekend by Israeli police at the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. This week's furious attacks have left 49 people dead in Gaza and 7 in Israel. See, this is better than some of the other papers because they divide the death toll to give you a sense of where the death toll numbers are leaning, which a lot of the other papers don't do. Hello, Guybrush. Good to see you. Yes, Linker, agree with you. The only good thing in the DM is Fred. Also, coin adverts when we get them. Anyway, decent, sensible coverage of the situation there. In the column on the right-hand side, briefing, which I do like this as well as Financial Times, gives you a single glance look at some of the other stories in there. Return to the office. Boris Johnson signalled government guidance for people to work from home where possible could be lifted next month. Quintessentially wrong. Quintessentially, a company run by Ben Elliott, Conservative Party co-chair, made errors in its accounts of more than £7 million and paid £1.4 million of unlawful dividends, its delayed financial report says. An expert panel has found that the World Health Organization and global leaders should have declared a global emergency over COVID-19 far earlier. A broker for the Vatican has been arrested. The Republicans have ousted Liz Cheney as a member of their leadership because she wasn't supporting them enough on still loving Donald Trump. And Lex Greensill may have misled Parliament when he said his company did not lend money to its shareholders, say MPs who cited a £300 million loan to General Atlantic, a Greensill backer. The doorbell is going, which I suspect is the person in the room having forgot her keys. So I just have to go and let her in. Oh, that's cool. I nearly fell down the stairs rushing to go and get you because my socks are slipping. Hello. I've returned. Maybe it's a coin delivery. The keys are in the stock drawer. What I love now is there's a sort of a whole mythology of the show building up. I didn't hide the keys. Person in the room there passing by. Right, let's get on with the FT. Interesting thing here is the data watch. Is this little box they do where they look at various surveys and data and stuff. This is from the Pew Research Center. Research done between November 2019 and June 2020. Young American Jews are less emotionally attached to Israel than older ones. As of 2020, nearly half of Jewish adults under 30 said they were very or somewhat attached to Israel, compared with 2/3 of those aged 65 and older. Person in the room has arrived with coins, says Red Tick Seed.
No, cake, not coins.
Oh, cake, not coins. Ged Station. Hi, Ged Station. Main story on the front page of the FT is, of course, a financial one. Stocks retreat after US inflation surge sparks fears economy is overheating. Down at the bottom of the page, former Tory chair faces conflict of interest claims over PPE contract. I mean, if you read the details of the story, it's 100% just massively corrupt. The FT has been doing some of the best reporting on Greensill, and again, this is good, very good reporting from Jim Pickard, chief political correspondent, looking at how Andrew Feldman was quietly given an unpaid job advising Health Minister Lord Bethell, despite potential conflicts of interest with clients of Toolshan, the lobbying and PR firm he's run since 2019. And guess what? It turned out that one of the clients of that firm was awarded a £22.6 million contract for PPE. But no corruption there. It's just a mere coincidence that Feldman was emailing consistently. Woo, thank you. Emailing consistently to push for a government contract there. But no corruption. Certainly no corruption. Just 2.6 million coins, as Yu-Gi-Oh says. Studying Fangirl. I wonder why those stats were published in the Financial Times today. Well, yes, true. But I guess because they're looking at... because the story's in the news. But yeah. Fair dues. Where did the dessert come from, says Auntie Dange. It came from the bakery near us, didn't it?
It came from that shop where you got the strawberry cake that time. The cafe.
The little cafe. Yeah, what is it?
Rhubarb cake.
It is rhubarb cake. It looks very good. Yuan, yeah, amazing these coincidences keep happening, isn't it? Amazing. How odd. Right, moving inside the Financial Times, I will skip over some of the hardcore business news in here. Directors face bans for COVID loan abuses. I mean, that's sensible. Insolvency Service will be given stronger powers, clamp down on fraud. What about fraud in government and corrupt practices in awarding PPE contracts? Hard to say. Nothing will happen there. Salmon's political future in doubt after dismal results is their coverage of the Alba Party's dismal and largely pointless showing at the Scottish elections. On page 3 of the FT, not a bosomy woman, but a story about entrepreneurialism, which is basically the FT's version of having a naked woman in the paper. Pandemic drives strongest boom in startup business for a decade. Lockdown restrictions and job insecurity lead people to reconsider priorities and strike out alone, as if they just wanted to, and many of them weren't forced to. Also on page 3, PM signals return to office will happen from next month. I'm not sure it will, particularly with the growing risk from the Indian variant, but there you go. Use of weapons says hardcore business is my favourite techno genre. Boris Johnson apologised yesterday unreservedly for events involving the British Army that led to the death of 10 people in what has become known as the Ballymurphy Massacre in Belfast 50 years ago. Involving the British Army. Involving. They were involved. Fucking did. They committed the killings. Right. Okay, page 4. Clive Cookson in London reports. Expert review lashes out at WHO and governments in call for urgent reform. A swift and collaborative international response could have stopped the 2019 COVID-19 outbreak in China becoming a global catastrophe in 2020, according to a scathing report on the response of world leaders and the World Health Organization to the pandemic. The Panel for Pandemic Preparedness and Response, commissioned by the WHO, sets out lessons for preventing future pandemics and makes dozens of recommendations for reform. Don't expect them to pay attention to them. Expect we'll get a much worse pandemic relatively soon. Air France and Airbus are to stand trial in France over the 2009 crash of Air France Flight 447, a twin-engine Airbus A330 that crashed into the Atlantic en route from Rio de Janeiro to Paris on June 1st, 2009, after the jet stalled during a thunderstorm. It was the deadliest crash in the history of Air France, killed 216 passengers and 12 crew. Yesterday, French judges said the two groups should stand trial for involuntary manslaughter. A Vatican broker has been arrested in an extortion probe by UK police. Mayfair-based broker who represented the Vatican in a deal to buy a property development in London has been arrested in the capital on money laundering charges. Financial corruption at the Vatican? Who would have thought it? Red Tick said, yeah, the British Army were there at the time. An army-involved killing. Yeah, use your weapons. I'm sorry some people got shot by our poor boys. Please don't be mad. Yeah, pretty much. Slinker by the time the inquiry into PPE contracts happens and the government will bury it until after the next election, nothing to see. Exactly. It's why when people are saying, oh, he announced an inquiry yesterday. Well, he did announce an inquiry for 2022 with not reporting until after the next election. It'll have no effect whatsoever. On page 6, the FT says, Israel pledges to step up campaign against Hamas militants in Gaza. Islamist group launches 1,000 rockets overnight, forcing closure of international airport. This is double byline to Mehul Shrivastava in Tel Aviv, right? And Andrew England in London. They have a leader column on this, which we'll get to in a minute. US petrol prices hit 7-year high after run on fuel stations. This follows the pipeline hack. Jump in China factory prices hints at inflation rise. Brussels loses Amazon tax case in third state aid defeat. EU judges have overturned a European Commission order to Amazon to pay back 250 million in taxes to Luxembourg in a further blow to Brussels' efforts to curb sweetheart national tax deals. The Irish will be delighted with that. Petrol in bags on Twitter has been 10 out of 10. Absolutely agree with you there. Use your weapons. Hello, SK. You join us on page 8 of the FT. Spending talks present test of Biden talent for bipartisan deals. Biden's previous experience in bipartisan deals has been basically just saying, yeah, okay, whatever, to Republicans and letting them get away with what they want. That's pretty much what always happens in bipartisanship in the US. The Republicans remove to move and the Democrats rush after them. Scientists concerned by impact of variant on vaccine efficacy. Reports that fully vaccinated people who become infected with COVID-19 in India have concerned some scientists, reigniting the debate over the threat that the mutating virus poses to global vaccination campaigns. You'll find other stories in the papers today about Sage having a meeting today, in fact, about concerns that the Indian variant, the Indian variant's been judged a variant of concern, and there's some talk that it might mean that the June 21 unlocking stage doesn't happen. I wouldn't be surprised if Boris Johnson pushes forward with June 21st and we come to regret that a great deal. Hello, Dick Pendrin. Very much no immature audience in the chat. Well, I mean, we're pretty immature here. Good afternoon, So Turnip. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. In the companies and markets section, BlackRock's China launch to target vast pool of savers, right? Roche warns patent waiver will not solve jab shortages. Oh, no shit. A pharmaceutical company says that we shouldn't have patent waivers. Surprising. Sam Jones writes, the rich remain sceptical about changing the world with their money. Fine, they can remain sceptical. Let's just take it off them anyway. There's a big feature on apps in China which are innovative in the way that you can do your shopping. Yeah, I can't be bothered to read into that, but it does look like it might be interesting. Dick Pendrin, everyone under 50 is immature. Okay, well, that's everyone. That's most people here then. Don't trust anyone over 30. How old are you?
I'm in my early 40s.
Diageo cash return plans need to not drive us to drink, says Bryce Elder. MPs say Greensill may have misled Parliament. Lex Greensill may have misled Parliament when he said his company did not lend money to its shareholders. Oh, well, what a surprise. Lex Greensill lying about something. Glencore wants cobalt supply chains, warns cobalt supply chains give China upper hand in electric cars. They have the upper hand on rare earth metals too. We are fucked on cobalt, yeah. COVID alarm takes toll on tech-heavy Taiwan index. There you go. This is the kind of stuff you get from the FT. Katie Martin in the Markets Insight column says, investors fret as inflation adds to wall of worry. I remember about the markets and investors in the markets. They're essentially just like a bunch of headless chickens. The markets are scared of everything. Many pages of market data, as you'd expect. In the film review, The Human Voice, Pedro Almodovar's new film, is called A Monologue with Immaculate Interiors. It's got Tilda Swinton in it and a dog called Dash. Dash looks like a sweet dog, although we only see him from behind, which is, as we know, Lord Austin's favourite way of seeing a dog. In the Big Read technology section, emotion recognition systems aim to assess an individual's mood through an analysis of facial expressions. The market's growing rapidly despite scientists' doubts that the algorithms work, because they don't really, do they?
What was the
Facial recognition algorithms.
Flawed as fuck.
Yeah, there we go.
That's an actual
Technical term. You can take that one to the bank. Right. Cathal Rabati of Villars-sur-Oron in Switzerland writes, you write in your editorial that in truth areas such as Hartlepool have been trending away from labour for decades as the traditional industrial working class has aged and shrunk. The post-industrial working class in Hartlepool is substantial. They appear to have put their trust in the Prime Minister regardless of how he let down Northern Ireland's Democratic Unionist Party over the customs border in the Irish Sea. It was H.L. Mencken who wrote that democracy is the theory that common people know what they want and deserve to get it good and hard. Wow. Horniness there from Cathal Rabati. Also, I love the fact that this is so very FT that this guy is writing in from Switzerland to talk about Hartlepool. And Robert H. Wade, Professor of Global Political Economy at the London School of Economics, don't often see him writing into the Sun Letters page, writes, Gideon Ratman, in his opinion column, May 11th, implies that industrial strategy intended to produce better paying jobs and a more productive economy went out of fashion for good reason, that it was generally ineffective and a waste of resources. He warns that a return to industrial policy is motivated not by economic efficiency, but the US and China seeking geopolitical advantage through protectionism. Some perspective is needed. The tension between two ideologies, government is inherently inefficient, and effective government is needed for providing public goods and promoting new activities, is endemic across the centuries. See Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton at the start of the American Republic. The paradigm prevailing at the point in time has been reached by moving away from what was clearly not working, crossing the river by feeling the stones, not building a machine. The 4-decade reign of the Jeffersonian ideology is coming to an end because it's clearly not working, even without reference to geopolitics and pandemic. We're moving unsteadily towards a more Hamiltonian steering role for the state, but this time we must remember that to be done wisely rather than badly, state support such as trade protection and subsidies must be given to activities which boost resilient supply chains and deliver significant future growth benefits. Why is everything always about growth? We cannot continue to grow forever, for fuck's sake.
No, it has to be a rap.
What's that?
But the hip hop version
Right, now wrap the letter, yeah. The state should receive some of the profit made with state assistance, as would a venture capital. I agree with that part. Hardly simple, but we have accepted for far too long the accumulating economic, social, and political costs of the Jeffersonian approach. I mean, it's a good letter. But do we prefer the Son ones, where it's just a man shouting at a cloud? Get Station, without growth, capitalism falls apart and they know it. Agreed. Use of weapons, this letter is liberal navel gazing. Yu-Gi-Oh! The Jeffersonian Institute for Sexual Harassment. Dick Pendrin. Menken's a reliable quote, isn't he? Also a massive pro-Hitler anti-Semite. Yeah, we just gloss over that bit, don't we? The Swiss canton of Hartlepool. Slinker if it was possible to use technology to correctly interpret emotions for facial expressions, autistic people wouldn't have such a hard time, yeah. Jordan DH, I couldn't believe possible imagine what you mean by the Lord Austin comment. I just mean he's a dog lover. Known dog lover, Lord Austin. SK the Crusader, I mean, low zero growth capitalism isn't impossible, it's just even shitter. All hail the market, internal growth. The line must always go up. Always a big fan of the line-based bits on Trash Future. And, oh, fucking hell, I've missed this. Claire Short, former Secretary of State for International Development, writes, Labour claims, parroted by many well-positioned commentators, that the party's woes are all due to Jeremy Corbyn, do not stand up to objective scrutiny. If you go back to Labour's vote in 1983, when Margaret Thatcher roundly beat Michael Foot in the wake of the Falklands War, it was 8.46 million. In Tony Blair's last election in 2005, Labour won with 9.55 million votes. Under Gordon Brown in 2010, when the party was outpolled by David Cameron's Conservatives, Labour garnered 8.6 million votes. Whereas Labour under Corbyn in 2017 got 12.88 million votes and 10.27 million in 2019. General elections follow a similar pattern in Hartlepool, where Boris Johnson's Conservatives triumphed in last week's by-election. In 1974, the year the constituency was created, the votes were 26,988 for Labour and 22,700 for the Conservatives. By the time of the 2004 by-election, when Peter Mandelson stood down as the local MP to become an EU commissioner, Labour held the seat with 12,752 votes. Labour under Corbyn twice won Hartlepool, securing 21,969 votes in 2017 and 15,464 in 2019, holding off the Conservative challenge, although in 2019 the Conservative Brexit Party vote combined was 22,472. That is not to say that all was well under Corbyn, but neither was it under New Labour. Moreover, social democratic parties are losing outright across Europe. The conclusion must be that Sir Keir Starmer is unlikely to find a way forward if he simply imitates New Labour. In fact, the loss of almost all of the 56 seats won by Labour in 1997 in Scotland make a Labour majority government almost impossible in the foreseeable future. However, the Conservatives could easily lose overall control, and Labour and the small parties could take power in a coalition. But this requires a different kind of politics, and there is no sign that anyone around Starmer is capable of thinking about this. Claire Short, London SW4. Not only is that coverage that doesn't blame Jeremy Corbyn, it's coverage written by someone who actually was in government, someone who was in New Labour, but recognises that New Labourism is not the answer now. So, Dick Pentrin, if Corbyn had won Hartlepool one more time, he would have been allowed to keep it. Anyway, the FT letters page is a really interesting page. So, yeah. I could read all of the letters on there, even though some of them are awful. But anyway, that Claire Short letter is chef's kiss. And on the back page in the Lex column, SoftBank pops up. In 1981, in the small town of Fukuoka, my tongue and teeth are not working. Fukuoka, sorry. SoftBank chief executive Masayoshi Son told two employees that his company would one day be valued at billions of dollars. According to the story he gave during an earnings call yesterday, the employees did not stick around. Even Son may not have expected SoftBank's market value to reach $174 billion. Now the conglomerate has returned to profit. It could climb even higher. Record net profit of 4.99 trillion yen, $45.9 billion for the year to March, came mostly from SoftBank's Vision Fund investment unit. Net asset value growth, $36 billion from the previous year, grew 36 billion from the previous year to 236 billion. Sun is no longer beset by criticism that Alibaba is its only winning bet. Alibaba, which at one point made up as much as 60% of SoftBank's net asset value, is now worth 43%. Yet the shares fell 3.5% yesterday, reflecting concern that most of SoftBank's profits remain unrealized. Yeah, because it keeps investing in mad things. Of the 125 portfolio companies in SoftBank's two vision funds, gross returns depend on just a few companies. Coupang, DoorDash, and Uber make up 80% of the first fund's gross return. This is why SoftBank share moves in the past year have closely tracked announcements of its buyback schedule instead of being focused on earnings. Shares doubled in the past year after it started a 2.5 trillion yen buyback program that has now ended. Replicating the past year's results depends on continued strength in US tech markets, which have dipped in recent weeks, though the moves may not be sustained. Returns from other parts need to boost too. Despite a rally in stock prices, the SB North Star trading arm and the broader group booked a 233 billion loss on investments in listed stocks and derivatives. Money is just a tool, says Sun. He believes his vision is the most important part of SoftBank. Well, For investors, a further round of buybacks would prove more convincing. They say that Victoria's Secret is not doing well, and a second-hand clothes market company in Lithuania has been valued at 3.5 billion. So there you go, Financial Times. It's a positive rating for a paper. I give it an 8 because it actually has some relationship to reality. It's Long Corbin. Isn't Long Corbin from a porno? Use of weapons is what I call my dick on Tinder. For the many, not the few. Jesus. Ged Station gives the FT a 6 out of 10. 7 out of 10 from Industrial Pet. Solid 6.9 from the FT. Yuan says still pretty fishy. Yeah, to a certain extent. I mean, look, the FT is written for the bosses. It has an entirely it is very solidly neoliberal perspective on things, but it does tend to actually what happened? My screen's gone off. Why has my screen gone off? Oh, hello. My screen went off for a second there. That was not good. Yeah, it does tend to actually have a relationship to reality. Slinkermeyer, 8 out of 10, surprisingly decent. Dick Pendrin, -0 for the FT. Use of weapons, death to the bourgeois, out of 10. Guybrush Tweet good. Yeah, they can be a little more straightforward with the info in the FT. Yeah, it's because the readers of the FT actually want to know what's going on so that they can, play the market. Right, so let's do the roll call and then we will move on to the Sun. From the vaguely sublime to the absolutely ridiculous. I'm, of course, the Broken Bottle Boy. You can follow me on Twitter at Broken Bottle Boy or on TikTok at Useless Conquests. In the mod squad today, the excellent Guybrush Tweet Good and the equally excellent SK the Crusader, who I'm sure will tell you what his next stream is about now. Arid Tracks is in the chat. Auntie Dange is there. Bad Motivator is here. Carbot 14XYZ is around. Thank you. Chris McRae, good to see you. Commander Root as well. Dan Jones 3142. I am going to make sure I go into WH Smith's this afternoon and see if I can find the non-league paper. Dick Pendring, good to see you. Domestic Gladio, thanks for being here. Ged Station, always good to see you too. Industrial Pet, thanks for being here. Jordan DH, Psychic Fromage, and Red Tickseed, always welcome and always good in the chat. Slinkermeyer, an absolute stalwart of the chat and always great in there. Shankly07, thanks for being here and your contribution, studying Fangirl. Hope you're doing well, and thanks for being here. Toms, hello. Royal Flush, use of weapons, another excellent chat contributor. VNK, good to see you. Virgo Pros, hello. And Yuan, of course, the Fish Meister General. Let's get the Sun into the void of disgust. Oh my god, yes. Tonight at 7 o'clock, SK is on stream reviewing Paul Mason's novel Rare Earth. I am gonna have to tune in for that. Hey Frugulus, good to see you. No, I did not call Slinkermeyer a wart. I called her a stalwart of the chat. Right. Okay. So from the FT, which has some grasp of reality, to the Sun, which exists in its own 1970s carry-on films if they were written by Nazis reality. So, the Sun, top of the page, cops in new Maddie clue. We get this story sort of once every 6 months, rarely ever goes anywhere. Main story, Great British Mask-Off. Harry Bunter Cole, Britain's most committed cuckold, claims that he has an exclusive that masks may be ditched in after June 21st. Now, look at the bottom of the Telegraph, though, where we get Sage to discuss Indian variants as number 10 plays down reopening fears. So, is it perhaps, another one of those amazing coincidences that Harry Cole, a known mouthpiece for the government, puts out a positive story today, as Sage says, actually, we might not be able to do June 21st. I have not done a heel turn. I have faith in Mick's good intentions. He's a good lad. Yeah, stalwart. Stalwart is it's good to be a stalwart. Anyway, right. So yes. Also on that front page, why Ben and Jen look on again. More benefit coverage. On page 3, that isn't page 3, but is page 3. Pilar Rubio looks strawsome in a 2-piece swimsuit from Cellmark with a print like woven grass. Jesus Christ. Also on that page, the GC, Gemma Collins, has been taking cryotherapy. I'm dubious about that. There's a picture of Angie Rayner and Keir Starmer stood next to each other, unconvincingly smiling. So there you go. On page 4 and 5, exclusive, Simon Stevens on how UK is beating Bug. We're so close. Stop jinxing it. Sun's writing is physically wounding me. I'm sorry, Guybrush. It's only going to get worse. On page 7, Maddie tip-off to nail suspect. Top cop hails new evidence. Yeah. Sorry. I don't think that's going to happen. On page 8, Lil Bit Lovely. Lily James deserves a big and for her likeness to Pamela Anderson. Jesus Christ. The Sun on Sunday told how English Lily, 32, is playing the Baywatch star for a Hulu drama. Marvel's Sebastian Stan plays Tommy Lee. On page 9, Harry and Meg's Wax It, Palace Merry-Go-Round. A pair of royal dummies have found a new home among Hollywood A-listers. Waxworks of Harry and wife Meghan have been moved away from other royals at Madame Tussauds in London. They now stand among Tinseltown's finest. Good publicity stunt for Madame Tussauds, which, by the way, is never worth visiting. And elsewhere on page 9, aide in Meghan bully row quits. One of Kate and William's top aides quit yesterday. 2 months after it emerged, he reported Meghan Markle for bullying. Jason Nolf will be moving abroad after stepping down as CEO of the Cambridge's Charity Foundation. Right. Okay. Wax snub. Yeah. On page 11, I'm in great shape, says Cindy Crawford. Okay, she's in Vogue. They're just carrying one of the pictures from that. Douglas Murray writes, at last an end to the student snowflake stifling free speech. Fuck off. This is a right-wing canard, and actually what we know is really about is suppressing left-wing speech and advantaging right-wing speech. We know that. Yeah, exclusive. Wax models moved, says Guybrush Tweetgood. Dick Pendrin. In Maddie Truthers were an early example of an online community becoming obsessive and out of control. Absolutely agree. Rod Liddle says, in 50 years, we'll shudder at what we did to animals. Probably. He's angry about the fast food ban, which is quite stupid, to be honest. But basically, he's awful. Rod Liddle is awful. On page 14, tragic MP, Joe's sister in bid for comments. There are many things that annoy me in the tabloid press, but this is one of the ones I really hate. Tragic. The tragic thing. It's really diminishing of someone's life because the tragic grand, tragic MP, someone dies and that's what they get boiled down to by the Sun. And just on the next page along, tributes to tragic Jordan 9, a boy of 9 killed by a lightning strike playing football, had been hailed a hero by Liverpool star James Milner for raising thousands for charity. This is a horrible story, and I feel very much for his family. In the bizarre column, we're back to the kind of naughties thing of taking pictures of pop stars look after they've been drinking, but by choosing a certain frame of the shots to make them look more pissed than they actually were. Yeah, or just not mention at all, depending on who was murdered. Yes, you don't come across many tragic militants. Prince Philip, there's going to be a load of stamps dedicated to him because he died recently. Sorry to drop that news on anyone who hadn't heard. And on page 19, Boris Johnson has told Israelis and Palestinians, step back from the brink, because I'm sure they're going to listen to Boris Johnson. Yes, you am. Prince also died some time ago. On page 21, model Joy Corrigan aces a sexy pose as she plays beach tennis in Miami. That's not news. Yeah, sorry to tell you, but Prince Philip is dead. They best be insulting future president of Albania, Dua Lipa, or I'll do them in. Sadly, they're not. Holy shit, Prince Philip died. When did that happen? Red Tick Seed maintaining the bit. The commitment is strong. Exclusive. Cow man's beef with love rival. A farmer who sold a cow called Posh Spice for a world record fee headbutted a love rival at a cattle auction. Love rival. Classic Sun thing. After Musk reveals Asperger's, how conditions have aided success. This is really weird. This is a really horrible way of covering people on the spectrum. They go, 1% of the adult population has, who have conditions generally. They're talking about autism, ADHD, dyspraxia, dyslexia, and Tourette's, and look at all these people who've been really successful but had these conditions. Fucking hell. Yeah, boffin. Fucking hate boffin as a word too. Someone dressed up their dog as Madonna. It's horrible. My other cars are Lotus. Inventor Colin Firth shows off why he loves to build anything but bogs down vehicles. 41-year-old's creations include 140cc, 55 mile per hour flushable toilet, a BMW Z3 with James Bond style flamethrowers, and a 72-foot long scooter, a 2-meter tall bike, and a Star Wars act in his back garden for his son Jake. Former plumber Colin of Stamford Links said, I couldn't go back to a normal job now. No way. A woman woke up after having her tonsils out and suddenly had an Irish accent. Angie Yen, 27, has never even visited Ireland, but the op triggered foreign accent syndrome. The headline they put on it, op of the morning to you. Use of weapons, lol. Musk crashing back Bitcoin last night was jokes. My idiot mate invested in Bitcoin and has lost 2k. Jesus. I like the red flag emote. That's excellent. Are Bennifer back together 17 years after their big breakup? Asks The Sun 2 days after every other newspaper. In the TV reviews, Loose Men was on today at 12:30. Martin Kemp, Richard Madeley, Rob Rinder and Jordan Banjo took over Loose Women for the show's second ever all-male panel, because what TV needs is more all-male panels. Kew Gardens, A Year in Bloom is on at Channel 5 at 8 p.m. Alan Carr's is hosting another series of his show, There's Something About the Movies, called Sky One. That's back at 9 p.m. And Mock the Week is on at 10 p.m. if you really hate your life. In Fab Daily, Sell You Like It or Lump It. Ashley, Marlin and Stacey love theirs, but our survey shows a third of us hate our bumpy bits. Fucking hell. Stop doing this weird body stuff. Stop it. Fucking son. In the letters page, no comments from philosophers in this one. Instead, the £50 letter comes from Leslie Evans, who writes, While elements of Boris Johnson's post-COVID plans unveiled in the Queen's speech are to be commended, there were some disappointing omissions, most notably funding for social care. Also disappearing were his concessions to the nanny state. Does anyone seriously believe banning promotions on sweet treats and junk food is really going to make a significant impact on obesity levels? Educating people about a healthy diet is a far better chance of working. Guarantee that was written by someone in the Sun office. Jeanette Boswell says, Bradley Walsh and his son Barney are due to star in the new series of Darling Buds in May. Any programme with Bradley in it gets 5 stars from me. He's a brilliant actor and Breaking Dad was fantastic. Richard Waller says, well done to Dua Lipa for paying homage to 2 style icons at the Brits, Amy Winehouse and Emmerdale's Faith Dingle. Right, and in the sport, Jorg and Bungle. Euro race opens up. Chelsea 0, Arsenal 1. Jorginho's howler gifted Arsenal a London derby triumph and kept the top 4 race alive. Main story, Kane needs city break. Pep holds cars over big move. Harry Kane will be stuck at Tottenham unless Pep Guardiola demands Manchester City sign him over Erling Haaland. There you go. Minus 69.69 from me for the Sun. Because there's a bit more time on the FT today, I'm going to give you a choice. Do you want us to end on the Telegraph or the Times? We will do one of these papers. Pick now. Times. Get station in with Times. SK in with the Times. Times. Okay. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 to 2 towards the Times. We're going to do the Times. Red Tick Seed rates the Sun as -1 dead Prince. Dick Pendrin. Wow, a lot of Telegraph haters in the chat. I'm glad you chose the Times because frankly, doing the Telegraph is just a pain getting through it. If you want to see the front page breakdown for the Times, just for the Telegraph or any of the papers I've looked at today, just head to the media tweets section of my Twitter and you will find it broken down there. Classic double negative nice from Slinkermeyer for the Sun. Right, here we go. Oh no, I put the Telegraph up. I meant to put the Times up. Hold on. Anyway, that's what the Telegraph front page looks like. Here is the Times. Front page of the Times, top of the shop. How many invites do you have? This is really annoyed person in the room because invites is the verb, invitations is the noun. And Deborah Ross says, I am woman, hear my rage. Top of the page, Karadzic will get extra protection after transfer to British jail. Radovan Karadzic is going to be incarcerated in a British jail after being transferred from the Netherlands following an agreement between the UK and the Hague's International Tribunal. They say he's getting extra security to protect him against revenge attacks from Muslim inmates. Dick Pendrin's rating for the Sun, -1 tragic boffin tot. Main story on the Times page, fears mount over threat of full-scale war in Gaza. Corrupt police officer caught when gangster group hacked. PC Kassif Mahmood, 31, carried out fake stops on cars he knew to be carrying hundreds of thousands of pounds in drug money at the behest of an international syndicate. Of course, the Times compares it to Line of Duty. Karadzic was moved to the UK after he said he was British to a Dutch guard. And these guys, if you say you're English, yeah. Right, moving on. On page 3 of the Times, Clooney crushed my vineyard dream. The Star is embroiled in a gazumping row with a rival buyer for a wine estate in Provence. Oh, good. Get us with all the very relatable stories. Absolutely culture war reporting on the cancelling of the D-Day reenactment in Devon. The Times goes with health and safety overlords axe D-Day. Jesus Christ. On page 5, gang enlisted Met officer to take back drugs cash. One thing I will say for corrupt officer Kassif Mahmood is he was very hench. Whomst among us hasn't bought a vineyard in France, says Use of Weapons. Indeed. I brought up the invitations thing for you, by the way. because I know that angers you.
It does anger me.
On pages 6 and 7, Johnson planning a three-front strategy for pandemic inquiry, it says here. He will mount a three-pronged defence as he seeks to counter claims by Dominic Cummings and other critics that his delays in implementing lockdowns cost thousands of lives. They did. It's a fact. More bosses urged to get workers back to the office. Yeah, being urged by Johnson at the behest of many of his donors who have a lot of money in commercial property funds. Quentin Letts is awful. Africa on brink of calamity, warn health chiefs. Jesus Christ. Nets catch bodies in Ganges as death toll hits 250,000 in India. Splake. Boy 9 killed by lightning was fundraising stars. How they cover that. Russians at war over £42 million empire. More relatable stories here. A diamond dealer and his model wife are fighting in court over property, jewellery, art and cars. A Russian multimillionaire diamond dealer and the daughter of one of Vladimir Putin's political supporters are at war after their breakup in London courts. Dmitry Tetskov, who has British citizenship, and his wife Alsina Kairova, a former model whose father is an MP in Russia's ruling party, live in a £22 million Surrey mansion with their two young children. The High Court has heard that the couple has fallen out and are battling over millions of pounds of property, jewellery, works of art by famous painters, and expensive motor cars. Both the husband and wife claim that the other was wrongly withheld property belonging to them, with Tetskov also claiming that Kairova refuses to return his passport. The couple's row comes just 3 weeks after another British-Russian legal battle had played out in the British courts. Last month, the High Court judge ruled that a city trader conspired with his father, a Russian oligarch, to hide millions of pounds from his mother after a landmark divorce case. Jesus. Dick Pendron, diamonds are almost completely a scam. They're not rare. De Beers was created in order to buy up and basically ration their appearance on the market. Yeah. Ignore, deny, and disregard the three strategies for Boris dealing with the report. Agreed. Yeah, now we can just make diamonds in labs. Countdown star misled interfering Corbyn aide. The Countdown presenter Rachel Riley was misled into thinking that an aide to Jeremy Corbyn, the Labour leader at the time, was targeting her on social media, a court was told yesterday. Riley, 35, is suing Laura Murray over a tweet posted 2 years ago after a Brexit supporter threw an egg at Corbyn while he was visiting Finsbury Park Moss in North London. The presenter retweeted a post by the columnist Owen Jones about an egg assault on Nick Griffin, the former British National Party leader, in January 2019. Jones had said, "I think sound life advice is, if you don't want eggs thrown at you, don't be a Nazi." After Corbyn was assaulted, Riley retweeted Jones's post with the words "good advice" followed by a rose, the Labour emblem, and an egg emoji. Following Riley's reaction, Murray, who no longer works for Corbyn, referred in another tweet to Riley being dangerous and stupid. Riley, who has been a vocal critic of Labour's handling of anti-Semitism, is suing Murray for libel over the tweet, claiming she was dog-whistling her Twitter followers to direct a pylon of anger and hate. William McCormick, QC for Murray, said Riley had been misled, arguing that she had viewed the episode through the lens of her campaigning about anti-Semitism and Labour. Mr Justice Nicklin ruled at an earlier hearing that Murray's tweet was defamatory. He has now been asked to consider whether serious harm was caused to Riley's reputation and whether Murray has a defence of truth, honest opinion, or public interest. The trial continues. Yep, that would be extremely dangerous precedent, I believe, if she wins. You should, I believe, be allowed to call someone stupid and dangerous. To my mind, not a legal expert, that would come under the category of honest opinion. Yeah, and also, that's right, Dick Pendron, he didn't actually throw the egg, he hit him in the head while holding an egg. Very slightly different. Yeah, I would say stupid and dangerous sounds like an honest opinion. In my opinion, it's accurate. Blair says Labour's woke campaigning is repelling voters. Yes, famously left-wing Tony Blair here. And also, as I said yesterday on Twitter, he wrote this in a New Statesman piece. He wrote that the Labour Party needs total destruction and reconstruction. I would have thought, following the Iraq War, that Tony Blair would be a bit more cautious about recommending strategies of total destruction and reconstruction after it worked out so well there. More coverage on the Ben Elliott, co-chairman of the Conservative Party, whose company quintessentially has admitted to a string of accounting failures and making illegal payments to shareholders. Tory party chairman's company admits making illegal payments. There's also a lot of alleged and suspected let's say, over closeness with the government. Dick Pendrum, he had to burn down the Labour Party to save the Labour Party. Yes, another rare intervention. Fill the chat with the golden tonties there. Shadow Minister quits after intimidation claim. Kate Holleran resigned as Shadow Communities Minister yesterday after being accused of telling a Conservative MP not to assist a parliamentary worker who claimed that she was being sexually harassed by Mike Hill, who was Labour MP for Hartlepool until this year. Now, do we for 1 second believe that a story like this would have been on page 15 when Jeremy Corbyn was Labour leader? Because I don't think so. I think it would have been on the front page. Sex offences and violent crime set to rise by a fifth, says Fiona Hamilton, the crime editor. Sex offences and violence due to increase by a fifth over the next 2 years compared with pre-pandemic levels, according to a forecast. I always find this stuff really interesting, right? Because reporting on forecasts like that with such definitive headlines, I think that's very bad journalism. Because it's not something that's happened, it's something that's predicted to happen. So when you say set to rise, right, it makes it sound like it's definitely going to happen. What it should say is sex offences and violent crime predicted by one estimate or whatever. But no, it becomes squeezed down. And then you get a sense of fear that's not based on a reality, but based on a projected reality. Here's another one where we know that violent video games and real-world violence, the correlation between the two it's not really there, right? Lots of research to show that. But no, what does the Times have here? Killer jihadist filled days with violent video games. Now, far be it me, for me to suggest that perhaps he was going to be violent anyway, and the violent video games are very much not the trigger for this, given that he had previously been in prison for terrorist-related activities. They say he also had 7 editions of Assassin's Creed, an action-adventure game in which assassins target the Knights Templar from the Crusades, often using knives. This is Usman Khan, who stabbed 2 Cambridge graduates at the Fishmongers Hall. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Ridiculous. Also, sexual assault's notoriously underreported. It's a projection within a projection. Agreed, Snaker. Trooper jail for pinching bottoms of 2 female colleagues on parade. A soldier who pinched 2 female colleagues on the bottom to lighten the mood during a parade has been jailed. Trooper Philip Ewart of the Household Cavalry groped the women as they stood by his side at Windsor Barracks, leaving one trooper in tears. When asked to explain his actions, Ewart, 29, told Bulford Military Court in Wiltshire that it was banter and he would have done the same to a male colleague. In a statement, one victim told the court-martial that the incident had affected the way she worked and she thought other troopers think and talk differently around her. She said, "I am worried this will happen again and there's nothing I can do to prevent it." Again, I feel that this is them underplaying what probably happened here, as they tend to do. Les Dennis is going to play Sir Joseph Porter in the English National Opera's HMS Pinafore. Times Radio was sneering about this earlier. Sexual assault, should be in jail. Agreed. He's sexual assault. And he's been jailed, and as he should have been. But of course, there's an implication in the Times is reporting here that wasn't such a big deal. Because it's not... Because look at the headline. Trooper jailed for pinching bottoms. Not trooper jailed for sexually assaulting 2 female colleagues, which is more accurate. University boss told to quit in free speech row. Senior academics at Edinburgh University have called on their principal to resign, claiming that he has sacrificed free speech to placate a small group of political zealots. The university's decision to rename the David Hume Tower made headlines last year after activists highlighted discriminatory comments that the father of the Scottish Enlightenment uttered in 1742. More recently, it launched an investigation into the conduct of Neil Finn, senior lecturer in social anthropology and a vocal opponent of renaming decision, after students accused him of being racist, sexist and problematic. Oh, fucking hell. Interesting how these things are reported and how the Times focuses on them, isn't it? It's almost like the Times is a committed culture warrior. Labour has no hope of winning power alone, writes David Aronovich, calling once again for a centre-left coalition. Right. James Marriott writes, if you want to get ahead, ditch your creativity. It's a very annoying column. I don't want to get into it. Janice Turner writes about the Mitfords. Whatever. Ian Martin is awful. Let's not even get into that. Right, in the birthdays today, Selena Scott is 70. Luciano Benetton, the co-founder of Benetton fashion brand, is 86. Baroness Rosie Boycott, founder of Spare Rib, who went on to be editor of The Independent and The Express, is 70. Jack Brereton. Yeah, Jack Brereton, Conservative MP for Stoke-on-Trent, is 30. Joe Brown, singer and guitarist, is 80. Lord Anthony Clark of Stone Cum Ebony, no laughing at the back, Justice of the Supreme Court till 2017, is 78. Lord John Cope, Lord Cope of Berkeley, is Deputy Chairman and Treasurer of the Conservative Party till 1992, is 84. Gareth Davis, Chairman of DS Smith Corrugated Packaging Company until 2021, is and William Hill till 2018 is 71. Eileen Diss, theatrical designer, is 90. Michael Dobson, Chairman of Schroders Asset Management until 2016, is 69. Professor Dame Jane Glover, Conductor, Director of Opera at the Royal Academy of Music, is 72. Alison Goldfrapp is 55. David Hill, the Musical Director of the Bach Choir, is 64. Professor Kathleen Jamie, the Poet, is 59. Harvey Keitel is 82. Jonathan Klein, co-founder of Getty Images, is 61. Carrie Lam, Chief Executive of Hong Kong, is 64. Andrea Leadsom is 58. Tamsin Little is 56. She's a violinist. Richard Madeley is 65. Dame Natalie Massenet, fashion entrepreneur and founder of Net-a-Porter, is 56. Armistead Maupin, the writer, is 77. Scott Morrison, Prime Minister of Australia, is 53. Samantha Morton, the actress, is 44. Geoffrey Evans, Lord Mount Evans, Lord Mayor of London, till 2016, is 73. Robert Pattinson is 35. Tim Shipman, the journalist, political editor of the Sunday Times, is 46. Zoe Wanamaker is 72. And Stevie Wonder is 71. F's in the chat for Dan Jones's 3142's golf wrap tickets that never happened. Lord Cope, ruler of the Labour right. Hashtag cum discourse, says Auntie Danger. Oh, hey, my namesake. I was named after Selena Scott and the Greek moon goddess. That's cool. Is that the same David Aronovich who got scammed into buying leather jackets? Yes, indeed. On this day in 1921, the Times wrote about MPs. On the 40th day of the coal strike, and at a time when millions of people were out of work, the government announced that they proposed to relieve members of Parliament of their liability to pay income tax on their allowances of £400 a year. This action has now been postponed. They further declared that unlimited free first-class railway travelling is to be granted to members between London and their constituencies and also their homes. The House of Commons appeared to have loudly cheered this ill-timed proposal, which has caused a most painful impression throughout the country. It has instantly deepened the growing mistrust of parliamentary government and has strengthened the belief that a gulf is dividing the nation from both ministers and private members. Even if the concessions were fully warranted, this is the worst possible moment for bringing them forward. Taxpayers are violently exasperated, and the anger of the whole nation has turned against the House of Commons just when unity is most to be desired. There is something outrageous in the idea that the very men who vote the taxes that should be permitted to escape them. It is largely owing to the gross failure of private members to check public expenditure that taxation has reached its present inordinate height. We do not wonder that members are eager to be relieved of the consequences of their own dereliction of duty, but they may be quite sure that the country will not permit them to go scot-free. Members of Parliament must share the common lot and not vote themselves relief from sacrifice. The original idea of the allowances was that they were to be contributions towards parliamentary expenses. It is members who have altered this and given currency to the idea that the payments are meant to furnish a living for some among them. If the pay does not constitute a living wage, the remedy is to raise it and not to exempt it from income tax. But at a time when the government are inviting miners and others to accept much lower wages, can they fairly ask the country to raise the pay of members of Parliament, many of whom, and especially Labour members, have a very bad record of attendance at Westminster? There you go. So the link of I got to see golf rap player Theremin with her lady bits, which was epic. Tim Shipman died at 46, killed by Starmright hit squads. Poor shippers. Yeah. Here you can see the person in the room actually correcting the front page of the Times too. Of course, in the world news, the main story is on Israel and Gaza. We're ready to send ground troops into Gaza, warns Israel. Bottom of the page, Hamas barrage stretches missile defenses to the limits. Report from inside Gaza, you never know if your building will be hit next. Ditch the hijab, Macron's party tells one of its own candidates. Boy, France is super racist, but we are right behind him. Beauty queen swatched gowns for guns to take on junta. A former beauty queen has joined rebels in Myanmar's jungles to fight the junta that deposed Aung San Suu Kyi in February. Hatar Hatet, 32, is one of the growing number of young people to turn to military training after 3 months of brutal suppression by the security forces. The actress and gymnastics instructor posted photographs of her online carrying an automatic assault rifle. The time has come to fight back, she wrote on Facebook. I am ready and prepared to give up everything. 2013, she represented Myanmar at a beauty pageant in Thailand. Her post came after the democratic government in hiding announced the formation of an armed force in a reversal of its non-violent policy. Hatar Hatet is one among thousands of activists who have travelled to Myanmar's border to be trained by ethnic rebel armies. Ellen DeGeneres' show is ending after 19 years. Not a moment too soon. A Hindu sect closely allied with India's ruling party constructed a vast temple in New Jersey using low-caste workmen trapped in conditions of servitude, according to a lawsuit which has prompted an investigation by the FBI. Agents arrived at the temple in Robbinsville, New Jersey, hours after a lawsuit was filed on behalf of about 200 workers, alleging that they had been lured from Rajasthan to the United States and forced to work 13 hours a day for about $1.20 an hour. Jesus Christ. In America, Washington Police Department files have been leaked online after it refused to pay $4 million to cyber hackers. The profiles of 22 serving officers, including financial statements, addresses, and social security numbers, were stolen, posted online in an operation by a Russian-speaking gang. A group known as Babuk hacked into the department's IT networks last month. The posts were taken down after the police began negotiations. The talks failed, however, after Babuk demanded $4 million. The group said in a post last week, talks have reached a dead end after it rejected a police offer of $100,000. Wow. Yep. Alan as a scab, agreed. Diageo tests recovery by restarting £4.5 billion share buyback. 2.6 billion healthcare deal latest for private equity. UDG Healthcare, a FTSE 250 pharmaceutical industry services group, has agreed a 2.6 billion takeover of Clayton, Dubilier and Rice in the latest acquisition of a UK listed company by private equity. CD&R, the American firm, what does it do? Yeah, it's more private healthcare dubiousness. Bitcoin inventor sues rivals over $4 billion lost during hack. Inventor. An Australian claims to have invented Bitcoin is suing a group of rivals over the loss of his cryptocurrency key in a bid to recover funds worth $4 billion. Craig Wright, a computer scientist who lives in Surrey, claims he set the parameters for the digital currency in a white paper published in 2008 under the name Satoshi Nakamoto. Lawyers for Wright said yesterday that he was bringing a claim against 16 Bitcoin developers after allegations that are preventing him from accessing his crypto funds after his electronic key was stolen in a hack, allegedly. According to lawyers at Ontier, the firm representing Wright, the case will be, for the first time, examine the nature and extent of legal duties conferred upon and owned by developers resulting from the control they exercise over their respective blockchains. There's an ad for Matt Chorley's radio show claiming he does politics without the boring bits. It's a radio show without the funny bits. They're trying to sell you a Bluetooth speaker for £100. Really? In the obits, Norman Lloyd, veteran actor, producer, and director who worked with Orson Welles and Alfred Hitchcock and was a tennis partner to Charlie Chaplin, has died. He was 106. On page 50, the obit is for Jeff Crowther, the free-spirited Yorkshireman who inspired a generation of adventurers to offbeat destinations with his guidebooks for Lonely Planet. He has died aged 77. Trying to sell you linen dresses and grass cutters. And in the sport, reach for the stars, Pep. City board back Guardiola to bring unbelievable players to club after clinching title. Mike Atherton says cricket has 56 statues of its greats, not one woman. Ban threat for revisited cases. Past safeguarding and misconduct cases in athletics are to be subject of an independent QC-led review. And the British and Irish Lions warm-up match against Japan at Murrayfield on June 26 will be shown live on Channel 4, bringing rugby back to terrestrial TV for the first time in a long time. There you go. That is the Times. For me, it's a minus 69, a single negative nice. Wonder if the name Babak is based on the Guy Endor book. SK the Crusader. Yes, Matt Chorley is the boring bit. His whole ideology is a boring bit. Dick Pendrin, Times Radio are advertising a lot at the moment. Yeah, because they're desperate for listeners, and it's not working. Right, scores for the Times are minus 69 from Slinkenmeyer, a minus 10 from Ged Station, a 4 fishes from Yuan. Thank you for joining me today on the show. Today's newsletter, I know I always promote the newsletter, but it's one I really want to get out as far and wide, is look at the moral bankruptcy of Tom Newton-Dunn. So if you can share that on Twitter, do. I'd really appreciate it. In a similar vein, if you've been enjoying the show and you want to chuck into the newspaper fund, please consider doing so. Thank you also to the people who subscribe here on Twitch. That's much appreciated. The newspaper fund is paypal.me/conquest of the useless. And we will have a magazine special tomorrow. I will be doing my best to find a copy of the non-league paper, but there is a chance if you chuck some coins in the paper fund before, say, 10 to 3, and tell me what magazine you want, your magazine may be picked for tomorrow's magazine special. Dick Pendrin gives the Times minus several zillion. Remember, SK the Crusader is reviewing the Spice King's book tonight on his stream, so at 7 p.m, so do get involved with watching that. Yeah, thanks again for joining me today. You have been Guybrush Tweetgood and SK the Crusader in the mod squad. Arid Tracks, Aiton, Auntie Danger, Bad Motivator, Carbot 14XYZ, Chris McKay, Commander Root, Dick Pendrin, Frugilus, Forward, Ged Station, I Can't Control It, Industrial Pet, Jordan DH, Psychic Fromage, Red Tick Seed, Slinkermeyer, Shankly07, Studying Fangirl, Torms, The Royal Flush, Use of Weapons, VNK, Virgo Pros, and Yuan in the chat. Thank you all, and I will see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. Well, I will also see you in the chat of SK's Paul Mason's Rare Earth review stream tonight. Cannot wait. Cheers, everyone. Have a really good one, and find me on Twitter or on the Discord. My last thing I'm going to do in the chat today is drop the Discord link. If you haven't been in the Discord, get involved. And if you're on the Discord, post articles you hate, because I need more poison in my brain. Right, laters all.